Next up, we have Derwin Dubose. Derwin is a Sheila C fellow and a mid-career.
Yes, please do.
Derwin was born in Mississippi and raised in Alabama. You'll learn a lot about him during this talk. But here are 3 things you definitely don't know about Derwin. He was a child model and actor. Starring in Smucker's Jelly commercials. He was arrested by Costa Rican Border Patrol for looking Nicaraguan. These are all self-reported. He is known as the Rain Man of song lyrics, and can guess most top 40 R&B songs within seconds. His talk is titled, "Can Any Good Thing Come from Yesterday?"
Can any good thing come from Nazareth? It's my mama's favorite Bible story. Sharon knows it. John chapter 1, verse 45. Nathanael mocks Jesus because he comes from a good-for-nothing town. Philip replies, "Come and see." My family comes from a good-for-nothing town. I left the clicker. I was born in Meridian, Mississippi, and raised just across the state line in York, Alabama. I grew up on a red clay road in this rusty 1973 model single-wide trailer, and we had feral chickens that would graze the front yard. My mother, a teacher, has lived her entire life in York. My grandmother, who raised white children for a living, grew up in York and lived her entire life there as well. My great-grandmother ran an illegal liquor operation her whole life in York. My great-great-grandmother born a slave in York. Despite those blood ties, my mama knows that a poor, majority black, still segregated town spells unemployment, jail, or death for a black boy. When I turned 15, she sends me 150 miles away to Mobile, to the Alabama School of Mathematics and Science, a public boarding school for the state's best and brightest kids. I then go 650 miles away to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and build a great life for myself in North Carolina by all objective standards. Got a good job, working for politicians. A own house with its very own yard and a picket fence. And I adopted a dog. That's Nina Dale Dubose. She lives with my mom now. I'm now here, 1,299 miles away from York, living in Cambridge to study at what people say is the best university in the world. The underlying truth of my story is quite sobering. The further away from home I get, the more opportunity there is. That's definitely true, but unfortunately, somewhere along the way, I also pick up a false narrative. A narrative that going away from York, getting a degree, following the rules, would shield me from unemployment, jail, and death. One night last year, that narrative crashes. So remember the Kennedy School admissions process, the frustrating time. So remember the anxiety we felt when we had to turn in our applications December 4th, and then this organization called CPO requires you to do a bunch of stuff for fellowship stuff due in February. You know, like 2 additional essays and 2 recommendations on top. Remember that hassle you had to deal with there? Yeah. Just a little subtle feedback to, the staff. So take your mind back to that moment. It's 1 a.m., and everybody who knows me knows you'll get some emails at 1 a.m. I'm hard at work on my Sheila C. Fellowship essay, and I'm craving a ginger ale, and not Schweppes, not Canada Dry. I'm craving a Faygo brand ginger ale. And there's only one gas station in Durham, North Carolina that sells this ginger ale, this gas station. So I decide I'm going to drive, and instead of dressing up in my polo and khakis and nice things, I keep my lounge clothes on. So I've got my ratty tank top t-shirt on. My tattoos are visible. So yes, I have 2 tattoos. This one says Durham. It was a mistake. This one says it's a great thing to do something others say can't be done. It's my favorite quote. So I walk out, tattoo showing, and I've got these long basketball shorts that go down to my knees. And then I put on my Adidas slide sandals. And Alistair Martin knows those sandals I'm talking about. And so I head out to the gas station. I walk in the door, and within seconds, a police officer just looks at me sternly and runs straight to me. He says, "I can't believe you got the audacity to come up in here. Put your hands behind your back." "Sir, excuse me? I arrested you last week." "No, sir, I've never been arrested." "We arrested you in that silver car." I said, "Sir, I'm not trying to be flip, but the Honda Accord silver model is the most driven vehicle on the U.S. The cop reaches for the handcuffs. You know, my emotions are out of control. I'm afraid, I'm ashamed, I'm angry. But luckily, I've got my phone in my hand. And I say, "Gentlemen, I know we all look alike, but do I need to call this phone number?" It's the actual contact in my phone of the mayor of Durham, North Carolina, Bill Bell, a great man, who is a friend of mine, and we work together on a lot of political and nonprofit projects. So these officers' demeanor changes completely. They take 2 steps back, calmly ask for my identification, realize they have the wrong gentleman, and wish me a happy evening. The power of politics. That interaction with police in Durham makes me angrier than I've ever been. Dressing like a stereotypical baggy-shorted, tattooed black man for one night only proves that the house, the dog, the picket fence, the career, the degrees, the running away from whence I came will not shield me from the unhealed racial tensions that permeate American society. I own that. I've got a ton of privilege, but what about those folks who don't have mayors on speed dial on their cell phone? So during my mid-career program in the summer here at the Kennedy School, 6 unarmed black men were killed by police in incidents spanning 4 states. I read a ProPublica article that says that young black men are 21 times more likely to be shot and killed by police. I read a Gawker article that lists at least 76 unarmed black people of color killed by police since 1999. This makes me angry. I'm pretty mad as hell. However, my cultural backpack does not allow me to play the stereotypical angry black man. Kind of like a Star Trek Vulcan, like Dr. Spock. It's very difficult for me to demonstrate negative emotion. And the big guru Marshall Gans has criticized me very strongly, saying that I seem to gloss over these painful moments with humor. But I'm not a protester like Marshall. I'm not a traditional activist. I won't lie down in the street. I'm just a justice-minded dork. I'm a nerd, I'm a geek, I'm a dweeb, a pissed-off dweeb, but nonetheless dweeb. So I choose to channel my anger not through protest, but through statistics. People of color are now 36% of the U.S. population, and as early as 2042 will become the majority. 4 states, Hawaii, New Mexico, California, and Texas have already made the shift. 10 states should be making the shift by 2020. 1,363 cities, towns, and census-designated places have already become majority minority. However, people of color are severely underrepresented in the social sector. People of color are only 25% of police officers, 18% of nonprofit staffers, 10% of elected officials, 8% of nonprofit CEOs, and 7% of nonprofit board members. And lacking substantive input on how to solve their own problems in their communities, people of color are unrested. So, working with the New York Times data set, my partner Vedette, and I will clarify my business partner Vedette, people get confused sometimes, have identified 30 communities that are statistically like Ferguson, Missouri, recently shifting from majority white to majority minority while struggling with poverty, unemployment, crime, and social mobility. These are the 21st century Nazarenes. Thank you. I'll keep talking because I ran out of time with my stuff.
So what's the plan? How are we going to, what are we going to do?
Thank you for Tammy Corey Stanford. Can I get my slides back?
Oh, I'm supposed to ask it again.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, what are we going to do, Derwin?
So we believe that things like this are going to crop up all over the nation unless we respond to the adaptive leadership challenge of communities of color learning to identify and solve their own civic challenges. So we believe that a single mother in Ferguson, a single mother in Meridian, a single mother in Maple Heights, Ohio, knows more about how to solve her problems in her community than any of us in this room. No offense, smart Harvard people, but you don't look around. These people on the ground know more about their communities, and so we're going to empower them using big data and community engagement tools to identify and solve their own problems. So we're going to recruit, hire, and train people of color in these communities. We're going to have them collect mountains of quantitative and qualitative data about their communities, then learn how to share that data with their neighbors to come up with what the problems they see are and their critical challenges. And then we're going to help them use that data to launch community-derived and community-funded solutions to the problems that are in their community.